Okay, offer some prayers first before we begin. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishnaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivasishya Sunyavadi Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda.
That's a nice background.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram
You know what
Ram
it is?
Hare Hare.
Vrindavan, Madan Mohan Temple.
So just
Yeah,
a request, if devotees, if you're not speaking, if you could mute, that would be fantastic. And also if it's not absolutely required, but it does help me if many of you have your cameras on. You know, it makes it easier for me. It's better than speaking because I feel like I'm speaking to a computer if I can see some faces. And also when I speak, I also like to look at the reaction on devotees' faces. Sometimes I might smile, sometimes I might look angry. And I can know, if what I'm saying is going down okay or not. Hare Krishna. Okay, so yeah, so I think we're all quite familiar with the Zoom etiquette. Okay, so yeah, muted if you're not speaking. And just apologies, you might hear a bit of noise. I'm here in the United States of America in a place called Grand Rapids near Michigan, which is near Chicago. And there's a beautiful new, well, it's not new, the devotees here have acquired a church, which is in good condition, quite a big church they've acquired. And we're doing some teaching here, some Pujari training, and it happens to be right on the main road. So you might hear big American trucks rumbling past. So hopefully it's not too much of a distraction. Okay. Okay, still devotees coming in. So let me share my screen. A few things I would just want to point out before we begin, like a bit of an introduction, but it happens to be on my notes on my slides, so just bear with me while we're going to bring up a portion of the screen and then go into the slide. Okay. And thank you everyone for showing interest in taking part in this reading. We really wasn't too sure how many people would sign up or tune in. I think there's quite a few devotees.
Yeah, pretty much.
The ever-present request for devotees to mute if they're not speaking. Yeah. So yeah, all right, let's give an introduction where this is coming from and why this presentation, why was it inspired to make this presentation. We've been reading through various books with one of our mentorship groups here in ISKCON London. It's known as Mother Chandravali's group. And we've read through Suddha Bhakti Cintamani about 2 or 3 years ago, actually. And we completed the whole thing. And then we went on to read another book by His Holiness Srila Shivaram Swami called the Sankalpa Kaumudi. And we read through that. So what book to do next? So we asked devotees who were part of this group. And a few devotees were inspired again to read Suddha Bhakti Cintamani. So I was okay with that. I was inspired for that. Because I prepared some slides on it, etc. What we thought we would do as well, though, we thought we'd open it up to the community. So everyone, we thought open up to more devotees rather than just our little group. So that's why many devotees are joined here. So thank you again. Now, some of you will probably have read, perhaps, Suddha Bhakti Cintamani. We'll clarify that a little bit later. But this book was first released in 2007. So that's 18 years ago. So it's quite some time ago. I was surprised myself. Yeah. Now, at that time, I was doing my own study, and I was studying the different stages of Krishna consciousness, because, again, I find it quite interesting, the different levels of Krishna consciousness. And I was doing my own study based on, of course, Srila Prabhupada's books and the book by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur called Madhurya Kadambini. Some of you may have heard of that. And then His Holiness Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj, he brought out this Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, which does describe the different stages of Krishna consciousness in a very systematic, very clear and a wonderful way. So I became very excited about that, and I studied it with great excitement. And it became part of our classes for the brahmacharis in ISKCON London. This is a few years ago, perhaps over 14, 15 or 16 years ago. I was giving classes to the brahmacharis, and they appreciated it very much. Now, for those who do not know, this particular book that we're going to read and study together, this is an introduction to a series of books by His Holiness Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj. And the first, it's called the Krishna in Vrindavan series. Now, many here are familiar with that, I would imagine. The first book was the Venu Gita. That came out in 1999. Then we had Na Parayaham, that came out in the year 2000. Then Krishna Sangati, the year 2004. Mother Sahachari, just keep an eye on devotees who want to come in. Okay, I can let Hare Krishna. And then Suddha Bhakti Cintamani came out, as we mentioned, in 2007. Yeah. And then after that, in 2016, a wonderful book came out called Sri Damodar Janani, all about Kartik month and that whole wonderful pastime. And then Maharaj, since then, he's been writing a book called the Vilapa Kusmanjali, which is part of the Krishna in Vrindavan series, 1, 2, and 3. And then the most recent book is Tava Katamritam, and that came out in 2024. Now, what happened is when the first book came out, Venu Gita, then the other subsequent books, Na Parayaham and Krishna Sangati, devotees were questioning who or are they eligible or who is qualified to read these books. Because we have Krishna book and wonderful pastimes is given there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But also there's other books as well describing Krishna's pastimes, especially coming from our Goswamis, our Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, etc. So Maharaj includes some of these pastimes in this Krishna in Vrindavan series. Actually, all the pastimes which he writes about are coming from more or less the Goswami's works, as well as Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. So I think it was the first time really that ISKCON devotees on the whole have been exposed to these other pastimes. So there was questions on one's eligibility to read or not to read. Yeah. Now, what Shiva Maharaj did do is he, following Prabhupada's line, following Prabhupada's inspiration, he presented the pastimes in such a way that they are accessible to quite a large body of devotees. That was Shivaram Swami's kind of mission, is to make these pastimes of Krishna available to a wide body of devotees. But still, the questions being asked was, who is eligible actually to read these Krishna's pastimes? Yeah. So that inspired Maharaj to write about this subject, and he started writing about it. He was answering questions about it. That was in 2007. So then it turned into it expanded, his essay expanded into a book. And that's this book that we're studying together now, that's Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, which is specifically addressing these questions about one's adhikar and what pastimes one can read or not read, etc. Yeah. So let me just, there's something I saw in the chat. Yeah, please, devotees, if you have any questions or any comments as we go, please feel free to raise your hand or put something in the chat. And perhaps Mother Sahachari?
Sure, I'll look into
If you
it.
see something come up in the chat, can you just prompt me?
Yeah, sure.
Because sometimes I miss it. Yep. So then he says, so you will see as we go through this book, Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, Maharaj will take us systematically through the science of Krishna consciousness in its different stages. Yeah, all the way from the beginning right up to going back to Godhead. Yeah. Now, for those of you who have access to Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, I might suggest that you read through the introduction that Maharaj gives. That will give you a more of a broader understanding of his reasons for this presentation. I'm just giving a synopsis here. And I saw because we have a WhatsApp group just to exchange basic information. I saw some devotees were asking about obtaining a copy. Right, so I think Sachari actually, I think she posted a link there, or it is on the Vedabase actually. And those of you who know Srila Prabhupada's Vedabase, someone said that they couldn't find it on the Vedabase, but it's there. Now, what the BBT have done, they've updated or upgraded, as they say today. They've upgraded the Bhaktivedanta Vedabase, and they've divided it into two sections. So this is Vedabase 2025. Okay, and it's divided into two sections. One is called Prabhupada Folio. One is called Vani, the Vani Vedabase. Did I get it right? Vani, yeah. So there's two. So what they've done, the Vedabase, the Prabhupada Vedabase is predominantly all of Prabhupada's books, and the Vani Vedabase is additional materials or additional books. You follow? Is this clear, everyone? Now, in that Vani Vedabase, you'll find the title Books by Srila Prabhupada Disciples. And if you click on that, you'll find it. Actually, what I can do is I can show you. I can stop sharing here and I can share something else. Yeah, something in the chat. Let me quickly look at that. Hema Gauri is with me as well. Hare Krishna. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Hare Krishna. So let me just share my screen, and it might be easier to show you screens. Yeah, okay. Share. You can see that. This is the Prabhupada. This is the Vani Vedabase. Okay, this is all of, this is Vani Vedabase. So just someone can just unmute and say, yes, you can see my screen. And
Yes,
Yes.
fantastic. Sometimes I'm going on and no one can see what I can see. So I shall put the link for this Vedabase in the WhatsApp group, and you can download it. Okay, Prabhupada Vedabase and the Vani Vedabase, and you can download it. If you're not so computer savvy, you might need a bit of help, like I did. I had to get help to do it. But then here's the Vani base. So they've divided it, yeah. The Vani base. So here, if you go down here, you're going to come to writings by ISKCON devotees, and it's categorized differently. Yeah, it's categorized alphabetically. Yeah, so it's not just under, before it's Gaur Govinda Maharaj's books, then Shiva Swami's books, etc. But now it's categorized just according to alphabetically. Okay, so if you go down here, so here's, if you go down, it's wonderful. So many books by Prabhupada's disciples. They're carrying on the literary tradition, about Sampradaya. So here you're going to find, going down. I want to open it up as well because it just, so here we go. Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, Shiva Swami, and under that is number one, Suddha Nam Bhajam by Gaur Govinda Swami, etc. And you've got Burijan, you've got books by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. It's a wonderful treasure to get, actually. So many wonderful books. So, Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, if you click on that, there it is. Okay. And while this is showing, it does show something what we're going to cover. So it comes in 5 parts. Part 1, mixed devotional service. Part 2, pure devotional service. Part 3, stages of devotion. Sorry, it's a big monster truck just roaring past. And part 4, qualification to hear Krishna's pastimes. That was the main impetus for Maharaj to write this book. And part 5 is the path of perfection. And that's, I think those who are in our little group, we remember that. That's where Maharaj puts into a story form of a devotee going through the different stages of devotion. That's part 5. Okay. So today we're going to probably cover the introduction. Okay. And then, so if you open it, here's all the different subjects that we'll be going through. Okay, is that helpful for devotees? I hope it is. You may have a hard copy, or you can have access to this copy. Okay, let me just go back. Advanced, 1 second, full screen, share. Okay. Okay. So if you like, you can follow along with the book. So for those who just joined, or so if you have just joined, I just recommend that you do try and get a copy and read the introduction, where Maharaj expands on why he's written the book. That will very much help us in understanding, the presentation. Okay. Also, yeah, get ready, because this book is philosophy. Okay. But it's Krishna conscious philosophy. So in that sense, it's wonderful. So there ain't any pastimes here. Yeah, it's all the wonderful science of devotional service. Yeah, the philosophy of pure devotion. Yeah. Now it's ideally to really understand this in the full sense of the term. It's ideal if you have read all of Srila Prabhupada's books. Yeah. Or if not, you're in the process of doing so, or otherwise you have a good basic grasp of our Siddhanta, or the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, by hearing. Yeah, by hearing classes or seminars, you have a basic grasp, like what the 3 modes of material nature are, hopefully. Yeah, the basics of our presentation of Krishna consciousness, that you have read Bhagavad Gita. That will very much help, yeah, in your understanding. Doesn't mean if you haven't done these, you're not allowed to take part. You are, but I'm just saying you would get more from it if you have read Prabhupada's books, for sure. Okay. Now there's 2 ways that as a group we have gone as the mentorship group, which we normally read books with in our temple. There's 2 ways that we do it. One is to simply that I share the book on the screen here and we read it together. One person reads 2 or 3 paragraphs, we stop and we ask some questions. That's one way. Another way is to present it through slides, like you see this slide here. And I've done my own study on this book, so I have each chapter in slides, and I have notes as well. All right, so that's what we're going ahead with. We're presentation with slides, but I'll be calling on devotees to read as well, because sometimes I get tired of my own voice, and I like to hear other people, see other people, and hear other devotees as well. So I'll be asking you to read as well, but on the slides. Now, what we might do is, as we continue, some of the topics get very dense and very very dense. So sometimes what we might do, I might find it easier just to bring up the book and we can read certain sections as it's presented in the book and just go out of the slides. So let's see how it goes. Yeah. And some of you, you can always, if you prefer one or the other, you can please let me know. Yeah. And then we can take that into consideration. Yeah. So let me just look what else here. Now, how long would this reading take? Well, the last one took 2 years. Okay. That was once a week. 2 years. It may take longer because I think there's more devotees taking part, and there may be more questions, more discussion. Basically, there is no time limit on this. I'm not trying to rush through it, so it may take 2 years. We're not expecting everyone who joins us in the beginning. It's just from my experience, that kind of naturally happens. Especially we see in Bhakti Sastri, you get 30 devotees in the beginning. At the end of Bhakti Sastri, you got 10. So things happen in life, things change, things come up, your schedule changes. So I'm not expecting everyone who's there in the beginning to be with us at the end. Of course, if you are, that will be a wonderful achievement. So don't feel bad about that. If you can join us for the whole thing, great. If you can join us for 1 month, 2 months, great. If you can't for 2 months and then another 3 months later you join back in, fine, there isn't any problem. We'll be recording each session and making it available. And it will be available under the title of Suddha Bhakti Cintamani 2025. Because on the YouTube channel that we have, you'll see Suddha Bhakti Cintamani from 2 years ago. Okay, so this one will be titled Suddha Bhakti Cintamani 2025. So you can easily catch up if you're so inspired, yeah? You want to hear what you might have missed, okay? Yeah, at the end, normally we will have a hardcore team. There'll be a hardcore group that will stick at it until the end. But don't feel bad if you can't. I'm just really grateful that you're here in the beginning anyway. Okay, we mentioned. Now, my style is what I like to do is I don't like, it's a different presentation to a Srimad Bhagavatam class as such. So I like to ask questions. So I'll be asking you questions, and of course, you're welcome to ask me questions. And sometimes what I like to do is the questions that are asked, I like to put it out to the group that's there so we can have a discussion, And there's close to there's obviously many of you are senior devotees, so you've all got so much to offer and so many realizations. So sometimes we will do that. We're open up for discussion. Yeah. So it's not exactly a Srimad Bhagavatam type of presentation. We're a little bit different. And although our group isn't so used to using the chat, I think we should try, and you're welcome to use the chat, as you mentioned, for any questions or points. And I think Sachar is going to, bang on my door when something gets put in the chat. Yeah. Or you can simply unmute and wave your golden hand. Yeah. The hand comes up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, any questions? Is that clear where we're going here? If there's silence, I take that as meaning everyone's okay.
I just want to
Hare Krishna, please, yes.
I just want to say to the group that we have been doing for 5 years, we should still carry on as normal, though we'll have more devotees coming. We should still ask questions and speak as normal. And we hope that we all carry on for the 2 years.
Yeah, please, devotees. Yeah, sometimes when
carry
there's
on as normal.
Yeah.
Our group, we just carry on as normal. Thank you, everybody, for joining for so long. Thank you.
Okay, because sometimes what happens, devotees are a bit shy, and if there's, I don't know how many here. I'm scared to look myself. How many have joined? Might not be so many. Sometimes our group, sometimes get a little bit hesitant when there's more devotees there. But please feel free. Yeah, please, asking questions is essential in spiritual life. You know, it's what spiritual life is about. You ask questions. So, yeah. Okay. Now, I'm going to try something here. What I want you to do in the chat, and I have to look at the chat. I just want you to put in the chat whether you've, well, perhaps do something else. If you just raise your hand, if you have read Suddha Bhakti Cintamani, just raise your hand. On the, yeah, no, you have to press the button so I can see Julian Lee. So let me scroll down. Good. Let me just have a quick look who's with us as well. Prema Govinda, Ramana Anupama. Okay, so not so many, I don't think. There's not many golden hands going up there. Okay, so just 4 devotees so far. Okay, well, that's good in one sense. That's good. This will be the first time you're entering into and reading Suddha Bhakti Cintamani. Okay, I thought it might be more than that. Okay. So fine, wonderful. Hare Krishna. So for those few devotees who have read, you can just type in the chat 1 or 2 words of what you thought of the book, Suddha Bhakti Cintamani. Or was it too technical? Was it inspiring? Or did it help you in your spiritual life? So just type away in the chat. And okay, here's 2 messages coming in the chat. Okay, so yeah. Prema Govinda says, amazing, something all devotees should read. Yes. Anybody else? Not somebody put their hand up. Okay. Oh no, Julian Leela, she mentioned here, a clear structure of all the symptoms of the stages of bhakti. Yes, that you will notice as we go through. Yeah, very clear structure. It's good for us to understand what is that structure, where we are now, and what's the next step. That's one of Maharaj's major presentations of Krishna consciousness. You know, going forward in spiritual life means knowing where you are and what the relevant next step is. Okay, so amazing, something all devotees should read, clear structure of all the symptoms and stages in bhakti. Okay, fantastic. Hare Krishna. Okay, let me just check if I haven't missed. Yeah, so again, if some devotees could have their cameras on, it helps me very much. Of course, if you're in the middle of eating a pizza, it doesn't look so nice, you can turn your camera off, you know, or you're on a bus or something. So, okay. All right, Hare Krishna. So let me check the time. So that's 1:30. So we've got half an hour left. So excuse me. I mean, I did expect to spend this amount of time on a bit of an introduction, you know, and a bit of a logistics and how we're going about things, because there was a few questions there on the WhatsApp group. So hopefully everything's a bit more clearer now. Okay. Okay. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Mother Chandravali, that's your hand is up from before, I presume, unless you had a question. Yeah, if you put your hand up, you have to put your hand down as well. You have to teach Mother Chandravali how to take the hand down. That's it, done it. Hare Krishna.
I was going to ask you, is this the book, we did remember a devotee who'd gone to the last stages, and then Maharaj is explaining how he then just goes into kind of a samadhi of his own. He wants to be on his own and just get into deep meditation.
Yep, that's the part you remember. That's a part 5.
Yeah, at the end.
And that comes at the end. Maharaj summarizes all the stages and puts it into a story form. It's very fascinating. Remember, at the end he reaches this stage of a stage of perfection and total ecstasy. So he's deciding whether he should just stay in Mayapur and just relish the mellows of pure devotion. I think we asked the question, what did he do? Well, he went back to his preaching field. Yeah. He internalized that and went back to the preaching field. So that's part 5. Okay. That's part 5. The last.
So I was telling, so just to let devotees know, no matter what stage we are, it's good to read this book to see what stage we can get to if we persevere.
Yeah, what stages we can get to, and also what stage we're not on.
Yeah.
What stages we're not on, what stages we think are on, and what stages we are actually on. So parts of this book does reveal that actually it does become quite, at some parts it might be a bit uncomfortable because we recognize some aspects of impure devotion. You know, that comes out as we're going to be reading this. So, all right, Hare Krishna. All right, so sorry, I'm just shifting things around on my screen here. I'm a little bit disorganized. Okay. Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, so yeah, this is Maharaj begins. He's quoting a verse from Rupa Goswami. So we're known as the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Yeah. So what was Prabhupada's inspiration? Yeah, to actually give that title? Now it's well known. Now we're very familiar. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Yeah. And he got his inspiration from this particular verse by Rupa Goswami. So this is from, you can find it in the Pajavali, text 14. The Pajavali is a collection of poems and writings by Rupa Goswami. There's many different books in the Pajavali. And there's this one verse there. And it's also quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya-lila, I think the teachings to Rupa Goswami. So if someone could read the translation here of this verse. So get ready for this. We'll be asking for you to read a little bit.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I read?
Yes, you can. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Krishna Bhakti.
Rasa, go on. So you've muted yourself, Mother. Go on. You have to unmute. All right. Let's try again. Someone else like to read? Unless you
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yeah, go ahead, Mother Anupama.
Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavata Mati.
Oh my God. Somehow I off it. I said I'll read it and I off it.
All right, let's give it back to Mother Sangeeta Priya. Okay,
Okay.
Sorry.
Go on, go ahead.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Yeah. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavata Mate. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, the intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Yeah. So this intense greed, specifically the phrase, sorry, that's another American truck roaring by the window. So Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavata Mati. So this means to be absorbed in the mellow taste of executing devotional service to Krishna. So that's what Krishna consciousness actually means. Yeah, and we're going to elaborate on that here in the introduction. Yeah, to be absorbed in the mellow of tasting or executing devotional service to Krishna. Ramanath Guru, please. Yes, your hand is raised.
Comment, if it's okay. You were
Please,
inviting
please.
comments.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, this is actually the borderline between Vaidhi and Rag Bhakti, is developing this intense greed.
Yes.
This is what actually lifts one up from the rules, regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti, becoming purified. And then that greed is necessary to move into that second category. So that's just a comment. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. And that's exactly what is going to be emphasized here in the introduction. That's what it means to be Krishna conscious. Actually, to be Krishna conscious means, as Ramanath is nicely explaining, Krishna conscious means to be have a natural attraction for Krishna, and that's known as spontaneous. Yeah, so that's what we're aiming for. That's why we do Vaidhi. Yeah, if we do Vaidhi nicely, then we will naturally come to the stage of being absorbed, yeah, in a spontaneous way. So that is what is being emphasized here. So thank you, Ramanath Sutta. Yeah, and Prabhupada.
I could just add, I mean, I think a lot of devotees sometimes think they're in that gray zone or the middle zone. It's not like they're in, they're in Rag Bhakti, but they aspire for it. And that's what we're trying for. I think that's what this book is also meant to inspire us to aspire for.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And sometimes there's a mixture. Sometimes we're practicing some aspects of Vaidhi. Some things we're doing a bit more spontaneous, that we like to do it. Some things we do because we've been told to do by the Guru. So sometimes there's a mixture. But yeah, this is the essence of what it means to be Krishna consciousness, actually. And Srila Prabhupada, he explains this verse. He says, this verse refers to devotional service rendered out of intense greed. That's lobha. So the otherwise known as, we heard, spontaneous loving service of the Lord without extraneous endeavor. So this extraneous endeavor means it's become your nature. It's become your nature. Your heart's been purified. So without extraneous endeavor, it's your nature. Yeah. Spontaneously attracted to Krishna. Yeah. Now, also Prabhupada often said that to awaken this greed for this level or this absorption in Krishna, is to associate with pure devotees. That he mentions in the Nectar of Devotion. Yeah. Yeah. It's to associate with those who have that greed. Yeah. Yeah. And he mentions the success of the outcome of keeping such company is to acquire love of Krishna. So that's what our International Society for Krishna Consciousness is about. Yeah. It's about acquiring love for Krishna. Yeah. And that's the means to attain him, to have, as we know, devotion and love for Krishna. Yeah. Now, okay, where can we find that association? We've already kind of hinted at it. Prabhupada wanted it to be available in our wonderful society. Yeah. Prabhupada says, actually, he says here, he's just reading, it is only this institution, this Krishna conscious movement, that is teaching people how to see Krishna. Yeah. Like just on that point, just this morning I was reading wonderful purports by Prabhupada. When Krishna, Canto 1, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 11, when Krishna's returning to Dwarka. And he mentions there a simple thing, because yesterday we was driving 8 hours from New Vrindavan up here to, what's this place called? Grand Rapids. It was going through some beautiful countryside. Anyway, point I'm making here, Prabhupada said that nature, if you look at the beauty of nature, that is Krishna's smile. And if you hear birds singing, the singing of birds is Krishna's whispering to you, Krishna's soft whispering in the ear to a devotee. Anyway, small point, but to see Krishna everywhere. Yeah. So this is what we're teaching people. Sorry, these trucks are making a lot of noise out of the window here. I have to pause while it goes by. Okay. So this is what we're teaching, this is what we're learning, and this is what we're teaching those who come to Krishna consciousness, yeah? Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavati Mati. Yeah. Now, interestingly, 1966, very early on in the movement, in the early days, probably Ramnath Sutta has probably obviously heard of Allen Ginsberg. Some of you perhaps not. He was what known as a beat poet, bit of a character, but he was attached to Prabhupada. He asked some wonder. I was reading the discussion with Allen Ginsberg and Prabhupada. He asked some really good questions to Prabhupada. Really thoughtful person. Anyway, Allen Ginsberg, he suggested that Prabhupada's new society, which he was forming, will be much better for Westerners if we call it the International Society of God Consciousness. Yeah. Which, thinking about it, he had a point. He might attract more people. Yeah. But Prabhupada didn't like that. Prabhupada rejected it. He said it was vague and it was unscientific. Yeah. Yeah. So he insisted his society included the word Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Because then people could identify his society, Prabhupada's society, with a concrete conception of God. A very specific, as we know, our conception of God is very specific. That's what Prabhupada gave us, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I mean, God consciousness is a massive spectrum. You know, Krishna consciousness is very clear, concrete conception. Yeah. So again, reminder, any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. So this name, Krishna consciousness, it also includes devotion to the many expansions of the Lord. Yeah. Have Lord Vrahadev, for example, Lord Nrsimhadev. Yeah. And also it's Maharaj explains it as the confidential essence of the teachings of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, meaning that there's how many avatars are there, how many avatars of Krishna descend in an age. There's a big number here. I think it reads 8,640,000,000. No, actually, no, let me get this right. Yeah. Lord Chaitanya, appears every 8,640,000,000 years, if I pronounced that figure right there. Yeah. On the earth. So it's extremely rare. I think we're familiar with this. Yeah. The appearance of Krishna himself is very rare, and especially of Lord Chaitanya is extremely rare. So only once in every 24 hours of Brahma. As we know, Brahma lives for a very long time. So his 24 hours is a very long time. Yeah. Now, Krishna and specifically Lord Chaitanya, they came to give more than just a yuga dharma for a particular age. Yeah. They came to give something very confidential, which hopefully most of us are very familiar with, this subject, to distribute this spontaneous loving devotion to Krishna, as we described here. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavati Matiya. Yeah. So very, very special. Yeah. Very, very unique, especially considering the state of the people in Kali Yuga. And Lord Chaitanya is coming to give the highest thing, which is not even available to demigods. Yeah. This spontaneous loving devotion to Krishna. Yeah. So he comes to, yeah, this is the confidential reason, to distribute spontaneous loving devotion to Krishna. Yeah. That's what Lord Chaitanya is teaching. That's what he's coming to give. Yeah. So he brings these eternal companions. As we know, we can read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah. And he's given the highest limit of, again, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavata Mati, which is Raj Prema. Okay, so what Maharaj is presenting here, what we're presenting here is what it means to be Krishna, what it means, Krishna consciousness. This is what it means to be Krishna conscious. Yeah, actually. This is what Lord Chaitanya is giving. Yeah, to be absorbed in this mellow. Yeah. And how to achieve that perfection. Anyone can say how basically we can achieve this perfection? There's a very simple answer. I'll give you a clue. Japa, chanting Krishna's holy name as one aspect. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so by spreading the chanting of the holy name, he inundated the world. There's wonderful descriptions of this inundation of Krishna consciousness in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah. And taste the four mellows of the very specific four mellows of the Vrajrasi's love for Krishna. And we all know what they are. Okay. We have Sakyaras, there's servitude, Sakyaras, there's conjugal love, and there's Vatsalyaras, and there's servitude as well. Okay. So this is what, these are the pure moods, pure moods of servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and conjugal love. So again, we're just explaining what this means, Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So when purified through chanting, we've all heard the word getting purified. Anyone heard the word, I'm getting purified? Normally devotees say it in a negative sense, oh, I'm really getting purified. But actually, you're getting immediately, Hari Bol! You're getting purified. Great, fantastic. Yeah. So, no, seriously, as we engage in chanting the Maha Mantra, which Lord Chaitanya is inaugurating, then we develop a specific attachment to Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, pastimes, etc. And then the heart spontaneously is attracted to serve Krishna. Yeah. So to be Krishna conscious, let me just check the time. Yeah. To be Krishna conscious then means we have to qualify ourselves for that. Qualify ourselves for that spontaneous devotion in one of the four mellows. Yeah. As is exemplified by the Vrajrasis. Yes. Yeah. Now, what's interesting, what Maharaj points out here, is quite confidential. And Prabhupada, it wasn't his main preaching focus in public. Yeah, it wasn't his main preaching focus in public. I thought that was something that's brilliant. Prabhupada could see what was exactly needed. Yeah, so he didn't speak about this in every lecture. He didn't speak about this when he arrived at an airport and spoke to some reporters. Why have you come? Well, I've come to give you the four mellows of loving devotion in Vrajadam. Conjugal love. Prabhupada didn't do that. Prabhupada was brilliant of the way he presented Krishna consciousness for very, very, you could say, very systematic, empowered intelligence. Ramanath, please. Ramanath Suddha.
No, thank you. You're just bringing up so many thoughts in my mind.
Yeah.
About Prabhupada's brilliance, and that this was his specific empowerment to bring esoteric Krishna consciousness to the West and know how to do it in this brilliant way. He has to talk about knowledge of Vrindavan, Braj Bhakti, but he has to be extremely careful, cautious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he was. There's one instance where I think it's Mother Visa Swami in Australia asked Prabhupada, innocently enough, "Oh, Prabhupada, can you tell us about Rasa Leela?" And Prabhupada immediately took the cautious approach. "Oh, we cannot talk about this in public." And he started elaborating on why you cannot do that. Then, in Prabhupada's incredible genius, he started talking about Rasa Leela.
Yeah,
But in such a way that was like presentable to his audience.
yeah. Such an innocent way.
Yeah,
Be hard to make
Yeah.
be hard to get the wrong idea.
exactly. First he cautions, but then he actually in a very sweet-like way talks about Rasa Leela. And yeah, you cannot get the wrong impression by hearing Prabhupada. That's the whole point. It has to come from the right source.
Yeah, that's Prabhupada's genius.
All these things
Yeah,
is genius. All these things are also in Krishna book. The 5 chapters of Rasa Leela are also there, and full of cautions within those chapters.
yeah.
But Prabhupada presents this information. So it's not, sometimes devotees think, "Oh, I'm too fallen. I can't, think about these things or talk about these things." Well, yes and no. Yeah, I mean, we should be cautious, but not that we should avoid it altogether.
Yeah, thank you. And that's what this study is going to help us to understand. At what level, or perhaps, are we qualified? Yes. Yeah, thank you, Ramana Sutta. Yeah, but yeah, so Prabhupada was very, what's the word? Very careful. No, there's no word looking for. Very systematic, or very intelligent, or what can you say? The way he presented Krishna. But we should not misunderstand that Prabhupada may not have spoken about this essence, this perfection of Krishna consciousness to the general people as a first presentation, but obviously he did write about it. It's there. Maybe he could say sparingly in his books, but because it's the essence of Krishna consciousness, he did talk. He did talk about it. He did write about it, and also he expected, Maharaj writes, he expected thoughtful devotees to understand, and upon their qualification, and only upon their qualification, to carefully pursue it. And here, for instance, this is, see on the slide, this is a lecture from 1974, when Prabhupada greeted his disciples in Vrindavan, I think the first major festival in ISKCON. So they've all come to Vrindavan. Yeah, first time many of the devotees have come to Vrindavan. And Prabhupada speaks here. Someone would like to read this here for us? This lecture from Prabhupada, 1974.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you so much.
So this is my request. You have come to Vrindavan. Try to understand what is Vrindavan Dham, what is Radha Krishna, but very cautiously, very carefully go through the Panchatattva. Gradually, you'll be able to understand. That is the highest perfection. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, that Aradhya Vastu, the worshipable Lord, is Krishna. And as he is worshipable, his dham is also worshipable. Follow the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then will be favored by the grace of Krishna to understand him and his pastimes with Radharani.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So I just want to highlight these words here. Very cautiously and carefully. Yeah. Yeah. Prabhupada, yeah. So he's given us warning here to such a confident. We have to almost, it's like tiptoes, because it's such a sacred topic, and we really have to be qualified to really understand the goal of Krishna consciousness and what it is. We have to understand it that it's not what's in the material world. Yeah. So yeah. So but yeah, Prabhupada, he gave us warnings. It's about this confidential quest. This is the goal of the Paramahamsas. So it must be approached with caution and reverence. Yeah. Now, And then, as we know, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada, more than one time, he explained that the first steps in this quest of understanding Krishna, means by studying the first 9 cantos. So well, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. Yeah, Prabhupada emphasized that again and again. So that initial study, complete. From that, it's hope one's hearts are purified. One's heart is somewhat purified. Yeah. Then one can hear Krishna's pastimes in a 10th canto. And then one may develop attraction for his service, for the service of the associates of Krishna. Now, it's interesting that Prabhupada gave us Krishna book, and he said to distribute Krishna book in the beginning. I'll ask Ramanath Sutta, what's your...
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit ironic. Back in the early days, 72 and 73, Krishna book came out. The movement was very young, and many of the devotees were young in age and young spiritually. And yes, but of course, Krishna book was validated by George Harrison like that. But yes, again, you know, the intimate pastimes are there in Krishna book, you could say. But Prabhupada's presentation is such where, and he's only, think about it, he's the only one who could actually present this information in such a way that would not come off as sahaja or sentimental or contaminating.
Also
The
essential.
only one. Yeah, it is essential. That's why we call him Sakyavesh. He was empowered to present this information to the West, to the Western audience, of course, to the India as well, but specifically to the West. So, yeah, I mean, those early days of Krishna book distribution were quite amazing. I have memories of distributing, you know, in those days it came out in these 3 big books, 3 huge books, and I'm out there and, you know, in a I mean, I didn't wear a dhoti, but you know, I'm there in a grocery store parking lot trying to sell Krishna book to housewives buying the groceries.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strange experience, but yeah.
And also, Prabhupada, because this is the essence of Krishna consciousness, this knowledge of Vrindavan, knowledge of relationship with Krishna as given by our Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah. Prabhupada wanted to make sure it was there before he...
Yes.
That was
very much so. Very much so.
That was Prabhupada's concern.
He stopped his translation of Bhagavatam to go right into his summary study of Krishna book, just to make sure that we had that. Otherwise, he knew without that, it'd be very difficult for the Hare Krishna movement to go on in his absence. So he made sure we had that.
And it so happened that Prabhupada was right in his assumption because he left before he completed 10th canto.
Yeah.
So again, Prabhupada's...
another way to think of what you've just been describing also, Murli, is Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada, the Hare Krishna movement, they're giving the highest knowledge to the most fallen. That's the great irony. This is like the most supreme topic of, we call it Krishna consciousness. You could say it's Radha Krishna consciousness. Of course, Prabhupada didn't call it that because then it would lead into Sahajiyism. But it is Radha Krishna consciousness. That's our focus, Radha London Ishvara. So, but he's giving this highest Radha Krishna consciousness to the most fallen souls of Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
That's such an incredible meditation.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm a bit of a stickler for time. I'm trained up as a pujari, so I like to be punctual. It's very enlivening. I would like to go on more, but perhaps I think best stop it now. Here it's 2:00, there it's 7 p.m. there. So we'll stop here, although I'm excited to continue. But so let's stop here. Thank you for devotees for joining us. I hope you found this inspiring and interesting, and you'll join us again next week. Okay. So, well, I feel a bit sad to be stopping. It feels like we're just getting going. But let's pause here. I know you've got probably things to do, and it is planned out for an hour. So next week, it will move to Thursday. because I couldn't do Thursday because I was on the road here. But better for me is on Thursdays. So next part 2, next one will be Thursday at 6 o'clock. Okay. And any questions that you have, you can write on the WhatsApp group, or anything you want to share, any inspirations from today's reading, please feel free to share that, or you can write to me directly. Okay. So I thank you, devotees, for joining us, part 1 or session number 1, and the recording will be available if you join a bit late. Okay. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. May you dream of Krishna. And please join us next week, next Thursday at 6 p.m. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you,
Oh, thank you so much.
Vipasiti Vyaivacha Parivaram Bhavneka Vaishnavika
Namo Namah.